Yes, so I want us to go straight into the word. I want us to read 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 20. One, I hope you all have a pen and somewhere to write, because we are going to read very many scriptures to make that one point that I want to make. Is that okay? Okay, so here we go. In a large house, there are articles not only of gold and silver. Let me do that again. In a large house, there are articles not only of gold and silver, but also of wood and clay. Some are for noble purposes, and some for ignoble. I actually want to read the part I'm interested in is in a large house. Can we all say in a large house? In a large house. Yeah, say it again, because I've seen some people are not looking up. Can you look up and say in a large house? In a large house. I want to say that we have houses and homes. So Buckingham Palace is one of the most expensive houses on earth. It actually costs, the cost that was done a year and a half ago or 2 years back, that house costs $1.3 billion. That house. In Kenya shillings, it is 130 trillion Kenya shillings. Our budget is just around 3 trillion. So that house, if we sell it, it can run us for many, even 10 years, it will still be 30 billion. It will be 30 trillion. So it will run us for a very long time. So I want to say, in a large house, in that house, we have many rooms. Yeah, Jesus said, I've gone to the Father, and in my Father's house, which he went to prepare, there are many mansions. And if it were not so, I would not tell you. So we can be sure, whatever he is doing and for all this wrong, I think they said like it took 6 years to complete that house. Jesus has been gone for 1,000, 2,000 years plus. So we expect that whatever we are going to find in the house that he's preparing will be, this will be child play. This will be someone who was doing something with mud. Okay? So let us also read. So that scripture, I only wanted us to hear or to learn or to say in a large house, because we have houses. Let's go to Matthew 16 and verse 19. I want us to read, that is Matthew 16 and verse 19, that scripture that says, I'll give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. I'll give you the keys. Keys with why? Migi, a bunch. I don't know whether you know a bunch. There are people who carry bunches of keys. You know? There's a friend of mine who has a few buildings in Nairobi, and he works with his sons to go to every of those rooms because they are called what? They are lodgings. So the guy will walk with a huge paper bag of keys. And the son, or him, he carries the money, he correct. And then the sons carry the paper bags with keys. Fugo. And that's a true story, by the way. So I want you to see, and I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. So we are talking about the key. The keys that access to that great house. If you do not have the key, whatever the key is, be it a card, be it a key, be it you have authority, you know, you cannot go into that house if you don't have an authority. That is a key. So I want you to see we have keys, a bunch of keys that will lead you into a big house. I also want us to read Luke 11. I told you we are going to write and to read many scriptures. The good thing is I'm not reading big portions. Luke 11, verse 52. 11 and verse 52. I read, woe to you experts in the law, because you have taken away the key. Not keys. The key, one. It has no S. The key to knowledge. Not the key for knowledge. The key to knowledge. There is a key Once you're inside that house, there is a key that you use to open, that the store. You'll use to open, where the fridge is, where the bedding, you get the beddings. All rooms are not the same in that house. But there is a key to whatever you want. There is a key to that place that you want to go. Let's say you want, that room where nyama chomas are kept. You have to use a key. Isn't it? Yes. Okay. You have taken the key to knowledge. The Bible says, know the truth and you'll be set free. So there is a truth that you need to know that will set you free. There is a key you will need that will open a door that you require. Because I've realized, I keep telling even my children, and sometimes I'm at home and I tell my children, Nani, pray for the food. Nataoba, this and that and that and that. And maybe it is supper time. And you'll say, pray, thank you for the lunch that you have provided. It's not that haobi and oba, but what is he? The concentration, the aspect of concentration is not there, And many of us Christians, it's just that, we don't pray for food every other time. But there are many things that we do that shows and tells God, huyu amekuja na amechukua time and he's here to pray, but his mind is elsewhere. So today, I want us to look into one key we call the key to mercy. The key to a key that will open a room that will provide you mercy. Not a key that will open a room called mercy. No, once you enter into that room, you will find mercy. So I want to say this. There will never ever be proper, 100% deception of what God promises in ignorance. If you do not know, we will look at you and see there are a bit of, God is working with that man. But there will never ever be 100% deception of God's promises in ignorance. So that's why we say wisdom and knowledge is power. You will never ever get that which you want. Fine. We are living in that time where people, once you get a house, a car, something, people tend to think, this is it, I have it. No, God has serious plans. Serious plans. But many of us, and I think it's Elder Kavito who preached one time and said, people want, you excel in education, you get a job that is, you had said 5 or 6 figure, you get a wife who has 3 children, and a house that is more than 3 bedrooms, and a car that is, was it what? A 3-figure car? No, I don't know. I can't remember. And then maybe get a rental flat. Then after that, people tend to think, now I have made it in life. It is not so. You will never ever get 100% reception of what God has promised you at all if you are going to live in ignorance. So we need to know the spiritual patterns that govern the receptions of the things that we desire. Amen? So let's read Psalms 103 and verse 7. Psalms 103 and verse 7. If you are there, I will read. He made known his ways to Moses, his deeds to the people of Israel. That's a whole lot of difference. He made known his ways. Formula. It's like now I teach you and tell you, this kind of mathematics, 2y plus 8 equals to 15. Get the value of y. If I have not taught you board mass, that question, utangangana nae for eternity. You might stumble on the answer. But if you have the formula, you will know the answer very fast. You can even do it mentally. Amen? So, He made known his ways to Moses, but his deeds to the people. People are seeing God healing. But Moses knew for that one person to be healed, someone has to be an inner room for, someone has to sacrifice. Someone has to deny himself food and pray for the sick. Like this service today here you are seeing. Many of you have come and you have prayed for the service, but there are people who are laboring here for the service. Yesterday I passed by here sometime, and I think I counted around 12 people. Yeah, different things. Hakuna mtu akona mwingine. In fact, I also found the cardinal. He was here. He was doing his own things. In fact, I think he was speaking with Steve on normal issues. But there were people here who are doing something for this service to stand. We may never know the ways that cause this service to be the way it is until we do something and find, and we stop living in ignorance. There is a way also to mercy. There is a key that opens and obtains mercy. It gives access to mercy. Mercy is for everyone, great and small. Great and small. Hata hawa watoto tumewaombea nini? Grace, mercy, love. God love them. God show them, your mercy. You keep praying for God, the mercies of God to be upon you. For the rich and the poor, the holy and the filthy, if we can say that, they all require the mercies of God. All of us. Mercy is for everyone. As powerful as God is, now God is very powerful. God is powerful. As powerful as God is, there will always be people, who will go to hell. Kuna watu wataenda jehanamu. Powerful as he is. Why? Because they cannot reach out to him. There are people who will go to hell. There are people who will, even as we speak today, there are people who God has given everything. They have even, money and everything. But tonight, utakuta kuna mtu atapata HIV. And we keep singing. There is someone who will get HIV today. There are people. Yeah. Ama iliisha ni mimi niko Naweza kuwa iliisha na sijaambiwa. We will have there's an interesting scripture, and I hope I remember it. Jesus said, the poor will always be with us. Did he cause people to be poor? He did not. He said, the poor will always the poor will always be with us. If we read Genesis, I think, let's just see that scripture in Genesis about Esau. Genesis, I think, 27. Genesis 27. Esau, so that, because I've mentioned the poor, I don't want it to be seen like I'm saying people will always be poor. If we read, not that one. Okay. If we read the account of Esau came and found that his brother amebarikiwa, si ndio? So Esau said, don't you have even at least one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father. Then Esau was wept around. Already, what does that one tell you? Now he has become needy. Ameona sasa maisha yake ime. Now the father said, his father Isaac answered him, your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of the heavens above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. What is that? Isn't that like a statement that you will be poor? If you are going to live far away from the riches of the world, outrightly it means you'll be poor. But look what he tells the son. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from your neck. So there will always be poor people. That one is a guarantee. But when they grow restless, things will change. Because you realize, I am living far from the riches that God determined for me. And I'm not saying like living in Garissa or, those dry areas are far from God's riches. You could even have a family that is very rich and well up. But you do not understand there is something God has kept for you that can cause your life to change. And I think today we are talking about that key. That desire to know what it is that God has kept for us. Amen? So, to fully understand mercy, I've met some men. Let me just, okay, for ease of differentiating, let me say I have met some rich men who think they have all they need. I don't need anything. My car is good. I've met some drunkards who tell me, I drink until around 2, hata sijuagi, but then my car just takes me home. What does that guy tell you? What does he need? Does he need mercy? He doesn't need mercy. Himself, he does not need mercy. Of course, out here we know mercy, the mercies of God. So it says, my car is well serviced, it's new, ni adira, hii sio ile munaenda kuleta huko. So it takes me home every day. I drink until whatever time. The ungodly hour. Mi nafungua two gates. Sijai patikana, my neighbor was shot. Maybe I've never found anyone, entering with me kwa gate. A doctor friend of mine told me, a guy, a friend of ours with Kimani, when I was in school, I struggled and I got my A or whatever. I went to school of medicine. I operate on, he's a urologist. So those who know what they do, I don't want to say that much. So the guy told me, without my brains, I cannot eat. As long as I have my brains, I will eat. I have something to, someone will come in, a patient, I'll look at him, I see 10 patients, 3 of them I'll take to the theater. As long as I have my brains, I'll eat. Is that a guy who knows the mercies of God? He does not even know that brain can shrink. What is that disease called? Like, I have an auntie, and forgive me for the many examples. I have an auntie who got, I think, dementia. It's such a sad story that the daughters will go there for Christmas. She has no idea. Alzheimer's. And it's terrible. I've tried to pray for that thing, and at least memory and and that thing can't come. So when you go saying that I have this, I have that, I have that, do you really know do you really think you know the mercies of God? Do you really think you need the mercies of God when you utter such things? You don't. You don't. So let's see a few examples of guys who either needed mercy and they saw it. So let's read Judges 13. I'm tempted to look at the watch. Judges 13. This is a guy called Samson. Manoah, actually, the guy is called Manoah. He's the father to Samson. I want to read Judges 13 and verse 8. So the angel of God comes and tells Manoah's wife, you will have a son, and this is what you are going to do, to bring him up. See, that's easy. If one can get pregnant, and one can deliver, and the baby is there, so taking care of the baby is something we all know. Sidio? Even leave the baby a helper. Sidio? So it's easy. But Manoah says, then, verse 8, then Manoah prayed to the Lord, O Lord God of heaven, I beg you, let that man of God you sent to us come again to teach us how to bring up the boy who is to be. What do you think of that man? He is asking God Now that you have said, you are going to give us a seed, a holy seed, how are we ever going to take care of that boy? Come and teach us now. We are not going to do it the way mothers do. You have given birth, you have done this and done that. Teach us, come and teach us. That is a man who wanted the mercies of God. He knew in himself he will not measure up to what God expected. Amen? Let's also see Abraham, Genesis 18. I told you are going to write. You will write. And so that is. Then the Lord said, I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son. That's a gift. Now, Sarah was listening at the entrance to the tent, which was behind him. Abraham and Sarah were already old, well advanced in years, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing. So Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, after I am worn out and my master is old, will I now have this pressure? Then the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, will I really have a child now that I'm old? Is anything too hard for me, for the Lord? So what I want you to see is that these were people who were needy. If you know the struggle that Abraham and Sarah had for a baby, so this information has come. They would have appreciated and knowing. If God can even say that I will have, yes, I know the way I am. But if God can say I am going to have a son, I don't think it would have been a laughing matter. It would have been, you remember the story of Samuel, was it Hannah? Who went into the house of the Lord and prayed so deeply that only her mouth was. How come Sarah was not doing that? Because sometimes we don't show God we need his mercies at all. Amen? Let's see also another one, Leviticus 10. This is the most painful. My Bible. Leviticus 10. We have some boys here who are called Nadab and Abihu. Leviticus 10. Let's read. It's a long story. I'm hoping that as you write those things, you'll go home and we are living in a time when we call the Belian age. The Belian age. Those guys who went back home to read the scriptures. There are kuna mambo naweza kuwa naambia hapa ambayo si ya ukweli. So you go home and confirm. Okay, verse 10. You know what they did? They bring in a fire which was from another place, strange fire. So God threw them at the altar. Yeah? So Moses tells them, you must distinguish between the holy and the common, between the unclean and the clean. And you must teach the Israelites all the decrees the Lord has given you. Okay, I'm reading 10. Okay, I want to read verse 8. You and your sons are not to drink wine or other fermented drink, whenever you go into the tent of meeting. You should never ever drink wine whenever you are approaching the temple. What does it tell you about these boys? They were given a job. Remember, their was set apart to be ministering before God. And it was no mean feat. You know, they used to go into that place once a year to do sacrifices. So God gives them a law, but then they don't think it is anything that still serious. Sinikazi tu tunaenda tuakishe moto twe. So the previous night they even went and partied and had fun, and so I think when they were coming at the gate, ndio waliangalia wakaona haya ni saa ya kuakisha moto. So they went drunk with hangover. Is that people who is showing? Is that a person who is showing that he needs God's mercies? Not at all. Not at all. And many of us are like that. The Bible says it is even shameful to mention what the wicked do in silence. in solitude. It is shameful. There are people who come to church na ukiabua the things that they do. You will even, wewe mwenyewe ndio utapotea hapo badala ya kukaa hapo. Because of the things that they do. And yet they are coming to a holy God. Sidio? So, those are examples of people who did not know the mercies of God. And of course, we've read about Manoah, one who knew about the mercies of God. For us to understand mercy, we need to know two things. We need to know the character of God. Why is it that we can mention God and mercy in one sentence? Why is it that we cannot mention Satan and mercy? Because we know about Satan. You know, there's a friend of ours, those who've been here for a long time. There's a guy who used to come here and, sad story, but, you know, he would come, get saved, and he becomes serious. Then, kitu inafanyika, he goes and drinks again. So, that guy, you meet him on the street, you will know this man has been in fellowship with the devil. Ask a car here, a wood here, sijui nini. Because the devil and the way he deals with people, we all know. Many of us know. Apart from those, you know, those who think that white sins, you can just go and have a beer or two and then go home. The devil has no friend. Once he begins to deal with you, in 2-3 weeks, we meet you encounter you at the gate. We will know this man has been with you. Just like if you are with God and you know his character and you seek him, we will know there is something that is going on in the life of this man. We will know. 2, we will also look into the nature and character of man. Why is it that man requires mercy? What is it in man? Why was man not made complete? That there is something he still wants from God. So let's look into the character of God. To know God, we did the scriptures. We did the scriptures. God, if I may say this, God is a consuming fire. God, you see, we've just read about Nadab and Abihu. Let me also read a scripture in Ezekiel chapter 28. This scripture, we read it with Paul one time. But I'll read verse 18. So, you know, he's talking about Lucifer. By your many sins and dishonest trade, because there are trades that go on in heaven, and maybe that will be a sermon for another day. You have desecrated your sanctuaries. So I made a fire come out from within you, and it consumed you. God can start a fire from inside you. Now, if that fire is started from within you, now which man will come to quench it? And if you do not read the Bible and the scripture, how will you know that God is not to be joked with? God can begin a fire from within you. He started this with Satan. By the time he was through with Satan, kidogo tu hivi diamfugie, awaiting judgment. If you read up there, you'll see the office, the kind of office he occupied. But by the time that fire ilikuwa inazimika iwe makaa iwe vubi sijui nini, the guy was done and finished. And even in jail, in a pit, we call it a pit of darkness. So we need to read the scriptures to know the character and the nature of God. We also need to know his names. You know, we call Jehovah our Jehovah Rapha, our healer. You know, we say, he told Moses, I am whom I am. How do you come to know his name? Sio kumention that I have said, Jehovah Rapha, na unaendelea na story yako. And many of us have ever been ailing and sick. When I met Leader we were meeting in a group. I don't know whether you can remember that. And she was asking for prayers because she was unwell. You remember that? She was unwell. And we prayed. And I hope she learned that you can call on Jehovah Rapha. That is how you know his names. God, my provider. It's not something that you say because we have school fees in the next week. God, my provider. No. It's you go to him and show him a side of you that, that recognizes that he's a provider. And he will come through. That is knowing his name. The other thing is about knowing Jesus, son. Jesus is actually the one who reveals God. When we pray, like when we were praying for Linda, we were praying to Jesus because he told us, whatever you ask in my name, our Father in heaven. So Jesus actually came that when you know him and you have become his, his disciple, he will actually show you the Father. He's actually what we call, someone said, he's the one who comes to prove to us because we are weak of understanding. He comes to prove. He's actually the verification system that God is. Amen? So we need to know that. Job said, I have heard of you, but now, through that which I've gone through, now I have seen you. That is Job 42. Zingine hatutasoma. Job 42. Angalia hiyo kamustari. So, to know the character of God, we need to read 1 John 4:8. 1 John 4:8. There we will know one of the characters of God. Because when he told Moses, I am whom I am, he meant I'm everything. But for our service today here, let's read 1 John 4:8. 4:8. A simple verse. Whoever does not love does not know God. Because God is love. That's something we all know. Let's read also John 3:16. Here we go, 1 John. John 3:16. That one is actually a memory verse, isn't it? For God, that but have, yes, for God so loved. Because God is love. So that's a part of the character of God. Higher. You know when Emma stood and led us in that Psalm, it was Psalms 136. I said, God is confirming this word. Because what are we saying? For his love, for his mercies endures forever. That is a character of God. At now the economy is bad. It will always be there. His mercies will always be there. Yeah. So let's also read Psalms. Okay, you go read. No, let's read Psalms 145. Psalms 145. Psalms 145. Psalms 145 and verse 8. The Lord is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger and rich in love. The Lord is good to all, everyone. Where we were saying, mercies of God are for the poor, the rich, I almost said ugly, but the beautiful, everyone, all of us. The mercies of God are for all of us. So that's Psalms 145. Higher. If you go to Psalms 107, his mercies, his love endures forever. Amen. Exodus 34 and verse 5. We are going to read many scriptures. Now, woe unto you if you didn't come with a pen. 35. Exodus 34 and verse 5. Verse 5. Then the Lord came down in the crowd and stood there with him. That is Moses. And proclaimed his name, the Lord. And he passed in front of Moses proclaiming, the Lord, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, maintaining love to thousands and thousands, and forgiving wickedness, rebellion and sin. Yet he does not leave the guilty unpunished. He punishes the children and their children, for the sins of the fathers to the third and fourth generation, if they do not repent. They will be punished to the third and fourth generation. So what you are seeing is that he proclaimed his name, he's gracious and compassionate. So that is the character of our God. It's the character of our God. Let's also look at the character of man, so that we understand why God is a giver of mercy, man is a recipient of mercy. The character of man, this is another thing altogether. Men talking about ladies. Psalms 103, verse 14. Psalms 103 and verse 14 and 15. For he knows how we are formed. God knows. Amen? He remembers that we are dust. And he remembers that we are. As for man, his days are like grass. He flourishes like a flower of the field. Amen? Our days are few and brief. Very few and brief. Years, your days are brief and very few. Amen? And that is the character of man. Let's read Jeremiah 17 and verse 19. Jeremiah 17. This is also a very common verse. Jeremiah 17 and verse 9. The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? Your own heart. Your heart. The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? Your own heart can cheat you. And you will live in its lie. Na inajua ilikudanganya na iko ndani yako. That is how wicked and desperate that we are. That your own heart. Can you imagine what? Like now I cheat my wife. Na tukae tu na yeye. Na hajui we are living a lie. But now this is my heart, which is cheating me. And it will, and we will live knowing that this is the way it is. Na roho inajua ilinidanganya. So I'll come here to church. And the heart knows my heart is somewhere else. That is how desperate man is. How wicked. Chafu. And then, Soma verse 10, that is hiyo ndio inanishagazaga. I, the Lord, searches the heart and examines the mind to reward man according to his conduct, according to what his deeds deserve. Not what I'm doing here today. Mungu hana shughuli naye. He is looking into that heart which is causing me to live in a sin. So here it tells me, the church uonekane ukosa. But God in heaven is looking into my heart to repay me. That's a terrible situation. That things will be happening to you, not knowing it is the heart which is being repaid. And that heart is in you. You don't understand. You are just seeing pain, and because I'm sure the heart will not allow itself to feel the pain. It will throw it to you. So you are living in a situation where you are in pain, you are in judgment, you are in misery, because the heart has been repaid. And you here, you are seated here knowing that you are a Christian. It's a terrible, terrible situation. Amen? If you look at Genesis chapter 6 and verse 5, Genesis chapter 6 and verse 5. That is during Noah's time, 6 and verse 5. The Lord saw how great man's wickedness on earth had become, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil all the time. And the Lord saw it. Akaona, huyu jamaa, if you leave him here, the easiest thing for him to do is to do evil. His heart is evil. You know, there is a story that is given by our cardinal. And before I tell you whom we are, let's assume we have a very important visitor who is coming in here. And we prepare, let's go to a butchery and buy 30 kilos of meat. Come and get the best chefs and prepare them. Prepare them well. Weka kapilipili kwa ubali. Na nyanya na kitunguu na everything. Weka pale. Then at the same time, get even 10 kilos, let's say even 10 kilos of dhara ama nyasi. Weke hata kamis jam kidogo na kachumvi. Then place them here. Then our visitor, the cow, we bring him. Hajapewa chakula for 2 days. Akuje. Find the meat there and the dhara there with maize jam and the molasses. Ndio iwe tamu, si ndio? Where do you think the cow will go? Na haijakula for 2 days. Na dhara ni 10 kilos. Nyama ni 30 kilos. Na haijakula for 20 days. Si kule nyama ndio ishibe haraka. Why? It will go to the dhara. Because it's nature. It's nature. The dhara. No matter what you do to it, it will not eat meat. Then man is like that. Man is desperately wicked. His every inclination is to do evil. Man is intrinsically evil. He's wicked in his heart. You know, sin has the power to overtake. And this, it's good to tell people to write something. Sin has the power to overtake even the most hardened follower of Christ. Has the power and the capacity. Itakuangusha. Especially if there are moments where you sraba. Of course, sin does not have power over God. But if there is a moment that you can sraba kidogo hivi, no matter who you are, sin has the ability to bring you down. Amen? You know, people say they are holy. So we have people who are very holy girls and men, youths, married people. What will happen if they enter a house na Potiphar's wife amchekeshe? Na afuge kamrago kamefugwa. You know, that is when the holiness will be tested. We are holy because we are here now. Na hakuna kitu ambayo, you know, God, Satan knows what he can use to. There is a book we read with my brother Kimani. Every man has a thumb screw. You can adjust it. So if Satan knows that your problem is already, he will make sure he'll just bring the proper and right environment. That is why you find people saying, nilijikuta. Ay, you are pregnant. Nilijikuta. Oh, kujikuta. You know, it is very difficult for, and because you are all mature people, you are not going to have illegal sex when Don Moen and what is that? Nani Ameda? There is a friend of ours who has a very wonderful song. And now, where unafanya ukora na, you know, when that song is playing, there is a tape where worship. That is when unasubuana na huyu aitikia ama ukatae. It will never happen. Why? Because you know it is evil. Amen? So people just say, you know, I'm saved, I'm going to heaven, mimi siwezi patikana. Find yourself with Potiphar's wife. Hapo, na Potiphar kwa job. Na unajua kwa meeting hata toka until 4. Let's look at Abraham. Abraham amengangana hana mtoto. The wife says, take the maid. Okay, twende. What does it tell you? Even when the maid kalikuwa anapita hapo na katrouser ka jeans, hapa alikuwa anaangalia tu. It's most likely even the spirit. Unajua kuna spirit inakwambiaga, this is the one I was meant to marry. So even when the wife said, take the maid, by the time anamaliza, and the girl is pregnant already. Na ni Abraham. Abraham, the father of chukua maid. Tayari na umechukua na hata amepata mimba. You get? So Satan is able to organize for you a period, a situation where umejikuta, and funny enough ulikuwa ready to get pregnant, and then ukuje kutuambia ati nilijikuta. So if you are, because you are intrinsically evil, and you don't want to see your mother, you don't want to ruin the family name and nini, what do you go? You go into a next step. Unaenda unatoa. You defile the land, you defile yourself. So you go even a step further. Man is evil. Unless God shows us mercy, we are going nowhere. Amen? Look even at David, the man after God's own heart. The man God used to slay Goliath. Goliath, I'm told, I read something I read in the internet. There were 5 such men on earth. 5. The whole Bible. Watu kama watu wakubwa sijui. In fact, I think one had 6 fingers. Huge people. Now, David was used of God to slay that man. Terrorize the armies of Israel. Now, David was used for that. What do you think the king was doing on the roof? He must have been told, ule mama ile nyumba anaogaa saa 8. Okay. We will not include anything that is not in the Bible. Yeah? The guy, yes, he loved them. Yes. Yeah. There are people in, because you people, you know me, I work in the industrial area, kwa hivyo hakunaga ati mambo mingi. But there are people who work in this town. They will tell you that beautiful girl kanaenda kwa ile office. That beautiful girl kanaenda pale. That handsome man does this and that. He drives this and this. In fact, others know that guy who looks funny has a very beautiful wife. Anaona the husband looks funny, like he does not deserve that beautiful wife. Anajua mahali anaedaga, anajua. I mean, we are men, we are people. Sidio? So man is wicked and evil. So knowing God is love, slow to anger. God is rich in mercy. God is merciful. His mercies endures forever. And knowing that man is under the law of sin, man is evil to the core and wicked. Man continuously does evil. Man can love, can live in his own lie. Yeah? His heart can lie to him na aishi milele kwa his own lie. What do we say of, what do we do? You see, is it, there's a name John Modama uses, the conundrum. That thing, yani, what do we do? Paul in Romans 7, hata sijafika so. Romans 7, let's read Romans 7 because it's very important, because many of us are on that. Romans 7. And let me read it. I don't look for Romans 7 in the Message, but let me read it in NIV. You see how tough. 7 and verse 24, looking for 24. But I see another law at work in the members of my body, waging war against the law of my mind, making me a prisoner of the law of sin at work within my members. What a wretched man I am. Who will rescue me from this body of death? Thanks be to God through Jesus Christ our Lord. Oh, wretched that I am, wretched man that I am. Can you put it in message? It's a terrible state. I can't see, but you can see. Can you read it for us? If, yes. I have tried everything. That which I want to do, I find myself not doing it. So who will save me from this body of death? Because the way it is, it will take me to hell. The way your body is, as vile unaipaka mafuta na unaipaka sijui lipstick, it will take you to hell. It will take you to hell. Because you are the law of and death. Unless God's mercies come. So what then is mercy? What then is mercy? So I'll use an explanation given by a friend of mine. Any action, this one you need to write, any action done by one to another to alleviate or to ease or to lighten the burden of another. Any action, stroke, intervention done by one to another to alleviate or ease or lighten his burden. That one is called mercy. Any concern for the misfortune of another human being, any concern. Yani umemwona tu. Jesus looked at the multitude and just had pity. He looked at the multitude. He had pity. You know, the harvest is so ripe. He had pity on the masses, on the multitude. The ability to be touched by the feeling of people, and their infirmities, is, you are said to be merciful. So mercy has to do with the compassionate treatment to those in distress, to show care, to provide relief. That is mercy. Mercy refrains from harming or punishing offenses. That is mercy, the basic definition of mercy. So, but the biblical mercy has to do with, the forgiveness of sin, the forgiveness of our weaknesses, God doing something about our weaknesses. He knows that we are made of just but dust. So he does something when we reach out to him. Amen? So he withholds punishment for the sinners that reach out to him. He alleviates the pain. He provides relief from the suffering that we all undergo. Let's read Genesis 3. I will not say as I finish. Mtakuta tu imeisha. Genesis 3 and verse 7. Not 3. Wait. I'm looking for that scripture where God spoke to Moses. I've seen the cries of my children. Yeah? Exodus. Yeah. It's good to... Exodus 3 and verse 7, okay, let's just start at 5. Do not come any closer. God said, take off your saddles, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Then he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. The Lord said, this is a verse I want you to note. I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have seen the misery of my people. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers. I have heard their cry. And I'm concerned about their suffering. He's concerned about the suffering of his people. So I have come down to rescue them. He wants to rescue his people. I've come down to rescue them up out of the land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey. That means he wants to come in and resettle them in abundance. That is our merciful God. I will resettle them in abundance. So God has seen the misery of his people. He has heard the cry of his people. He's concerned about their suffering, and he has now come to rescue them. He wants to resettle them in abundance. Mercy is a provision from God. Is a provision from God. Mercy guarantees that you will reach that which God said. We were praying with some men somewhere, and I felt the urge to pray for somebody that he will reach his height, because there is a height that God has ordained for us. Like we were saying, people want a is it a 3 or 4, maybe 6-figure salary, a wife with 3 children, father, mother, and one kuchukua vitu chini ya bed, and a house, and a rental house, and life is set. Because God has a height that he wants you to reach. Because he says somewhere that, and then this gospel will be preached throughout the whole world. How will it be preached if you, when you got a rental house, ulitosheka? Whom is he going to use? He's going to use you. He's going to use your resources. Amen? So mercy guarantees that you will reach that. If you keep yourself every time humbled and humbling yourself to God, you will reach that potential, which he says in Habakkuk, even if I told you now what I have for you, the plans I have for you, and I told you to write them down, you will not comprehend. So you cannot understand the height that God has for you, yet that height is there. Amen? So mercy guarantees that you reach that height, you reach, the potential that he has, despite the handicaps and the limitations and the hindrances that you encounter. God's mercies will cause you to go into those heights. You reach into the pinnacle of what God wanted for you. So how does God administer this mercy? Because if he has it, and it is for us, and you are needy, you are wicked, so how does that mercy come to you? That is what I want us to look into. That is the conditions for God's mercies. I got surprised that when Peace was reading us, he read Psalms 51 and verse 17. Because that is the only other condition that God has for you to gain from his mercies. If you read Psalms 51, there are 2 Psalms that are very painful. Psalms 51 and Psalms 32 that were penned by David. 32 and 32. But we will read, Psalms 32 and Psalms 51. But we will read Psalms 51. The background here is, when you are saying that he was on the rooftop na akaona kuna mama anaoga, he got the wife, he got that ready, made her pregnant, killed the husband, married her, na akamweka kwa nyumba. And he imagined that God was not aware. You wonder. There are things you do and you wonder, wewe unafikiri Mungu ameenda wapi? You think he has gone on safari? That this is a period yake ya holiday. No. So you do something, you get somebody's wife, you sleep with her, you make her pregnant, you kill the husband, you bring her into your house, na unaanza kununua manapi ati ndio akizaa mtoto muangalie. Where do you think God is when you are doing all that? And there are people here who will, hey, things are tough. If you can do that and come to church, you know what you did and you are in church, and you expect God will speak to you and help you, it's a terrible situation. And David was in that situation. But when the prophet came to him and told him, I don't want to give that story of how tunasema aliigizwa box ya kuona ile makosa yako naye. Because that story had to be told. A long one. Kuna mkulima alikuwa na buzi sijui nini. Na buzi mgeni akatembea, buzi ya huyu ikachukuliwa ya maskini. And David was mad. That madness hiyo alisikia ndio ilifanya aone kumbe I'm sin. If there was no story to show him his condition, hageona amekosea. Akikuwa anaona tu niko na mama na kuna miba. Na pengine hata anaonyesha nani the prophet. Oh, Samuel, come. I have my wife here. You get? So he pens Psalms 51 when he was told, you have sinned. This is the prayer he made. Sometimes I read this prayer. I wake up early in the morning, I read for 10-15 minutes and I'm praying. I wonder, did he pray for 15 minutes? Maybe it took him 2-3 months. Because the guy went back mpaka akaona, oh, even my grandfather had the same problem. The story of Onan. Onan is the grandfather. So akaona, kumbe now what I have is so refined that I can take any girl. This is now hybrid. Take somebody's wife, make her pregnant. Now most likely, maybe, I don't know, but maybe the husband had failed. Because we are not told he came with his children into the palace. Did she come with her children to the palace? It's not mentioned. So most likely, the husband had not succeeded for that period. Because, the Bible says, do not take a newly married man into the battlefield. So give him. So this guy, and because he was a general, he must have been in the battlefield for a long period because he had married. So David, when he was doing his research, alikuwa ameambiwa ule mama aliolewa na meja kwa ame na hata alikosa mtoto. So David knew all that. So he took somebody's wife, akampatia mtoto. So it's like telling God, hata ulikuwa umempatia bwana hawezi. So he was justifying himself. So you see his need for mercy. So when he was told he needed mercy, Psalms 51 is what now he cried to God, ndio Mungu amuonee huruma. Now tell me in your sin. When I say sin, I don't like, there's a time we used to go and preach to the prostitutes huko. I always feel a bit uneasy nikiwaambia, you are lost in sin and all that. I like just talking to them and seeing that what they are doing is, I find like I'm condemning them, you are in sin and you are immoral, you are wicked. But now when I say this today, do you think that you are sin because you know it? Do you think you can make such a prayer today? Mungu akusamehe. David was forgiven. In your sin, in your immorality, in your wickedness, in your lies. People think lies, kuna tuogo tugine twa kudanganya, sio tubaya sana. Twa kusurvive. Yakara kusurvive. Even that one, do you think you can make such a prayer? Hapa. Mungu akuforgive. It's a serious matter. So let's just read 17. When you go home, go sit down, relax, have a banana, smile, and read this thing. Uone kama unaweza. If you can make this cut. That that banana smile we hear here. Have it, sit in the house and see. Can you really ask God in this way? Forgive me. Have mercy on me, O God. According to your unfailing love. According to your great compassion. Because he knew. Cleanse me and purify me. Anyway, let's read verse 17. That is one I want to, because of, he told God. And we are looking into how the mercies of God can come to us. Verse 17. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and a contrite heart. Oh God, you will not despise. Thou shalt not despise a broken heart and a contrite spirit. That is the only way we are going to get the mercies of God into our lives. Amen? A broken heart, the contrite, thou shalt not. That is what David, the slayer of the ogre. Remember those stories of the ogre? The acknowledgement that without God, you are failed, you are doomed. Oh, who will save me from this body of death? You know, in the old days, I'm told, if you did something that was so evil, and you know, the Bible says you cannot kill. So what they used to do, because they don't want the sin of killing you because you have killed and all done all that, they used to get another dead body and tie it on your back in a way that no matter how you try, you will not be able to remove it. So as the body rots, it eats into you. You fell down and die. So that them, they are not guilty of your death. So they used to tie a body of death. So that's what Paul is saying. That is what sin is to you. The body of death. So who will save you from this body? And you cannot remove it. It is in you. In fact, deep in you, the heart. Who will save you from that? And as you come to a place of realization and admittance, acknowledgement that you cannot make it without him, you have a body of death on you. Amen? You know, when COVID came, we realized, and if you did not realize, sasa huwezi saidika. We realized that it was not about money. It had nothing to do with money. You will have money, but the roadblock is out there. You will do nothing. You have a car. Na huwezi enda Gishagi. Yeah? You remember that time? You have a job and you cannot go to it. You have children there, you cannot feed them, and the rest sasa ufikirie. You know, there's much more these things that we hold so dear and value. Yeah? COVID taught us that. And me, I lost one of my aunties lost 4 of his people. 4 of her people. But I celebrate COVID. Because we realized, and if you did not realize, you need to have a life other than what you normally do have of looking for money, cleaning your car and doing all this and looking for investments. A time will come, those things will not matter. I was reading about Steve Jobs. Is it Steve Jobs? Yeah. Who was saying, I have billions in the accounts. Now the doctor has said I eat a fruit and a banana. It's not about money. I have a jet. I have my own jet, private jet. Putin, the president of Russia, has bought one of the most expensive planes. Twice of it, tupa. Of course, sio kutupa, but inawekwa gold na nini such that inabeba kama watu 50. Ordinarily it carries around, it ferries around 300 people, maybe 400. Inabeba watu 50. Such that when he's there, he has a plane, he can stretch his hands. But one day, one time, you realize, it is not about that. There is a God in heaven who can say, it's not about that luxury and comfort. One of our family friends in Geshagi, and I hope kuna relatives hapa. The guy, no, I will not go into much details because we have our own in global fraternity. But there's something he used to do. He would, he's so rich. He would come to church and find out who is preaching today. No, that man cannot preach. Our that service is and it would be crossed. Na akijua Sunday ni mtu anakuja kufuga. Na nini atakuja kuhubiri Sunday. Anakuja hata wadhali atoe viti. Ziende zifichwe kwa baa mahali. The guy was rich. What could you do? So there's something that we call prostate cancer came. That guy got prostate cancer. My grandfather died of prostate cancer. Like now he's 25 maybe years. So he died 18 years ago. And that guy had gotten prostate cancer earlier than him, than my grandfather. And my grandfather died earlier. That guy ako tu. Yani unaisha. And you have the money, you'll be bought for a wheelchair. You'll be taken to places. The guy had a loving wife. Loving wife. You know, you are so wicked and you have a loving wife. You know the things that you don't understand how they work. So you'll be taken places, hata kama kuna kaharusi. You know? So, yani, mpaka ikafika mahali, jamaa anaanza kuambia Mungu, God, let us pray. Yeah, God, when will you kill me? And the money is there. Left a big house, left several plots, left in one of the posh estates I'm told he has. Wacha wewe unasema uko na plot mbili. The guy has like 20 acres. Unasikia eka moja ni 1 point something B. 20 acres. But ikafika mahali, you are asking God, oh God, come and take me. Sio come and deliver me. Come and take me. I don't want to live anymore. Na hata mafikiria ya kufanya suicide, kujinyoga ama kukula, haiko. Hiyo kwanza wewe hautawajinyoga. Yeah? So, one is broken to the extent that you realize, that you acknowledge, that you admit. If you read Matthew 5, the Beatitudes, remember the Beatitudes? Ziko wapi? Matthew 5. I always, much as I said, I am confident and unstoppable, and these things zinanichaganyaga. But I love this part of the scripture. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Does it tell you to be poor without any money? It is in the spirit. You cannot show God you know. Atakwambia fine. Do. Blessed are the poor. Not in the wallet. In the spirit. These are spiritual things. Amen? Don't show God I know. Atakwambia, and there is a Kikuyu saying that says, maybe mom will help us. You know that saying? Kama unajisaidia, ati Mungu anasaidia gabaya amejisaidi, jisaidie na uendelee. That's the way it goes. Jisaidie na uendelee. Why should he come? You have to show God. Matthew 5 and verse 3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. That one of God, you are like me, is in a blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. Hata siyo hiyo. The one of anyway, it's a long thing, you go and lead, isn't it? Because you have to show God and assume the posture of mercy, and God will come through. Amen? There's a posture for mercy. Man doesn't easily go down to the knees. They don't. In fact, because I will say this. I was sharing with my brother Rashidi, and we were discovering Daniel, when Satan came and formed that giant idol. Daniel aliangalia hivi, akaona hapana, mimi I will not. So what did he do? He went into the house, locked the door, went and opened the window facing Jerusalem, and knelt, lifted his hands. And he did that 3 times a day until he was discovered. Men will not go down easily unless they have acknowledged and have, realized that they have the need of the masses of men. Don't. And okay, in my life, I know there are times, I'll not say how many, There are times I found myself even at my table room, kneeling and asking God. But then after I'm through, I sit down and ask myself, how come yesterday I did not kneel? So I realize, hey, nimeambiwa fees ni 60,000. Men will always kneel down when ile kitu imemshika. Sasa hii sijui itasaidiwaje. So I'm teaching myself to go down, even when I'm telling God, thank you, I kneel. This is not just for Catholics. You can go down on one knee, which is actually very good for them. That one, I give it up to them. That is a good, gesture to God. That you can go down on your knees. And somebody said, and they have put stickers in the cars. If you can kneel before God, then you can stand before men. Amen? Haya. Amos 4, I know we are running short. Amos 4, unakuta, man is so hard-headed that when God denies him rain for his crops, anachimba borehole. When insects are sent by God, eda ukule ile chakula ya ule dio anirudie, unanunua insecticides. That is how man is. God is continually speaking. That one you'll go and read for yourself. That is Amos chapter 4. There is a dimension of pain that causes men to realize who they are. Remember the prodigal son? Jamaa alienda akamaliza pesa nini, akakula hii chips, mwitu, ikafika mahali akaona ala, hii jai itanimali. So that pain caused, I will realize. It taught him, it cancelled him. There is a pain that can cancel you. Arise now and go. Had he refused to arise, what would have? He would have died of hunger and dirt and uchafu. And funny enough, when some of these things come, hata maji ya kuoga inakosa. Na maji imejaa na hapa. Amen. Had he not stood up, he would have in his vision. Let us look at the two thieves on the cross. Hapa na hapa. One of them anasikia Jesus, karibu niseme Yesu. Anasikia Jesus, of course, he was man, he was paining, he was in pain. So maybe crying and mourning and asking God, oh, gai wito, gai wako, wadiganilia, all that, So these are the thieves, na ako hapo pia helpless. What are you saying? Si nyamaze ama goje tukufe tu ama whatever. Akaanza kutusi nani? Jesus. Started abusing Jesus. Look at that other man. Akaangalia Jesus akaanza kusikia. Na hizo maneno huyu mtu anasema ni kama they are good. So kukemea ule mwingine. Anamwambia wewe shut up. Can't you see this man is innocent? We deserved it. Do you know they were actually thieves? And on that particular day, we were told here the other day, the chief of them, who was Barabbas, was released. On that holiday, they are supposed to kill 3 thieves, 3 hardcore criminals. And the most hardcore was put in the middle. So that is why Barabbas was the one who was supposed to go to the cross. So he was released. Jesus akachukuliwa. Pana, we are going to crucify him. Barabbas got free. Jesus went on to the cross. Had it been you on the cross, wewe unafikiri ungesema nini? Unajua unachekelea tu mwizi anaigilia Yesu. This man, you could even be hearing Jesus and he's not dying in peace. We are meant to die. Die in peace, my friend. Be a man. Die like a man. Wewe ambao umeokoka. Haugenyamaza. Don't think that on the cross you would have been saved and you are being crucified as a thief. Now sasa wewe you are saved, unaweza mwambia ule nyamaza tu, unajua tutaonewa huruma na huyu. Hapana. Wewe ungekuwa hapa ukiambia Jesus anyamaze. because that is who man is. Yet, God has come with his mercies. Amen? I also want to bring the benefits of mercy to us. There are two principal benefits. As I told you, I will not say as I finish. I just say, I don't know how this thing goes. Benefits of mercy. Benefits of mercy is peace, is love, is joy. None of these behaviors will come naturally. Wacha hiya ati I love you, you know, I cannot sleep. Hiyo ni mistari. Hiyo ni ya kuweka mtu box. There is a love that comes out of having the mercies of God. That you can look at someone who is not, you know, we are in times where even the ladies, you find ladies looking at youth, the fellow youths, and it is in another church. They look at youth. Unaangalia, is there any good thing that come from this man? Unaangalia, unaona hakuna. Jamaa wetu haongei. Na akikuongelesha unaangalia unaona huyu jamaa ana hope. I don't think he'll make a good husband. And off the guy goes. You remember that story, Kim, eh? Then a guy goes there, gets another simple girl, and they come to church and they marry. Then unaanza kusikia wadada wakisema, yani this guy would have made a good husband. So you are seeing a husband in someone because of what? You cannot discern and see. You know, don't look at someone in the flesh. Look at them in the spirit. Try and discern and see what is behind that person. You see? Ateka, huku hakuna watu sioni. Fine. Tulia. You will see. But you will see a husband in somebody's husband. It will be too late. So, peace comes out of knowing the mercies of God. Love comes out of knowing the mercies of God. Joy comes out of knowing. There's a verse that says, because you hated wickedness and you loved righteousness, God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of, has placed you high above your companions by anointing you with the oil of joy. You may have joy that comes from God and people are mourning. You are maybe even mourning. You can even mourn a loved one, a family, you know, a parent. But in your heart, God has anointed you with the oil of joy in you. What does Habakkuk say? Though the pens have no calves, or the fields have no, you know, I know you know these things. I will rejoice in the God of my rejoice. That is joy. It comes out of knowing the mercies of God. None of these behaviors comes naturally. In Christ, mercy and truth, they converge. Amen? Now, you will never know the mercies of God if you are not saved. If you are not saved, if you have not come to a place of knowing who Christ is, why he died for you, that had you, you know, even if it was only you who was a sinner, had it even been Barabbas himself, peke yake, wengine wote ni righteous, Christ would still have died. But now he died for you and me. Amen?